Okay, let's see how to write a social story. This is a step-by-step guide I found on from Google, which is written by Rebecca Pierce. Okay, let's see if you are working with a child with unique learning needs, you have probably heard all about the benefit and potential use for social story for students of all age, even adolescents and young adults. Social story can help young learners adjust new routine, participate in conversation, and develop certain life skill, or learn how to interact with peers. Whatever the situation might be, social story can help tell kids what to expect and what might be expected of them. While the benefits of social story are obvious, creating them is much more complicated. It can be daunting task, particularly if you're working with several students or aren't sure how to craft the perfect narrative. Fortunately, there are ways to make your life a bit easier. Consider these tips on how to write a social story, and you will be an old pro in no time. So we can navigate this post with the link. So the first part of this post is what are the social stories and types of social story and how to write a social story step by step and who are social story best for and how to adapt social story for students who are nonverbal. Social story template to try and further reading. What are social story? According to Carol Gray, the original founder of social story are used to ac- accurately describe a context, skill, achievement, or concept according to 10 defining criteria. A social story must, number one, have a goal. Number two, include a two-step discovery process. Number three, contain a title and introductions that identify the topic, a body that adds details, and a conclusions that reinforce and summarize the information. Number four, has a format that is tailored to the individual abilities, learning style, talented interests, and attention span of the audience. Number five, have a patient and supportive voice along with vocabulary that has exclusive use of first and or third person perspective statement, no second person you. Contain past, present, or future tense, has a positive patient tone, is literally accurate, has an accurate meaning. Number six is answer questions about where, when, who, what, how, and why. Number seven, it contain descriptive and coaching sentences that guide behavior. Number eight, has language that describe more than it directs. Number nine is constantly revised. Number 10 has a plan for editing and implementing. What is the type of social story? There are all kinds of social story you can write. They can be used to explain how others might feel or react in a certain situation, including the students. Help a students cope with change in routine or unexpected events like a fire drill. Assist with expected or unexpected behavior, what to do when you are finished with an assignment. Accomplish self-care skills such as grooming tasks. Describe what will happen at an event, like going on a field trip. In short, there are very few situations in which a social story is not appropriate. You could even use them to teach important job skills. Social story describe events more than they dictate what a student must do, making them good option for students who aren't sure how to react to certain events. How to write a social story. We have a step-by-step guide. Number one, we have to decide what kind of topic to tackle in your social story. So the social stories are normally written in first or third person, but never in second person. Write a social story in second person diverts the story from being a descriptive story into being a directive one. That's something you want to avoid. Ideally, a social story should be written from the student's perspective. I went to the store, or Adam went to the store, rather than you went to the store. They will answer the who, what, when, where, and why about a certain situation and the unexpected behavior that you would like to teach the students. Therefore, the first thing you need to do is to identify the situation you have like to cover in a social story. What kind of situation do you find your students struggling in? Number two, vary your sentence type. Carol Gray recommends that social story should be use both descriptive and coaching sentence. These coaching sentences are sometimes referred to as directive sentences, but that can be confused given that we want the story to guide more than dictate. Ideally, you should have at least two descriptive sentences for every coaching sentence. Descriptive sentence can be further broken down into factual, perspective, cooperative, and affirmative sentences. Many people find it helpful to write one descriptive sentence followed by a directive coaching sentence, then a cooperative and affirmative sentence. This kind of structure provides a nice cause and effects flow that might prove to be structured enough and help for students who struggle with abstract concepts. Here is an example. Descriptive sentence, I ride the bus to school. Perspective sentence, sometimes I get up upset and I ride the bus because it is loud and crowded. The third type is the directive and coaching sentence. I can put on my headphones and listen to music when I feel upset on the bus. Affirmative sentence, staying relaxed on the bus is good for me. Again, try to maintain a ratio of two descriptive sentences for every directive sentence to keep things more descriptive than directive. The third one is you have to prepare the story. After you have selected the topic and come up with some ideas for sentences, it is time to put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard and start crafting the story. Number four, add some picture. Next, you will need to add some pictures to the story. Put the picture above the text so there is a clear link between the picture and the sentences. The picture should be clear and represent the meaning of the story. Now is not the time for fancy graphic or abstract artistic rendering. If you can, use visual support picture or actual photograph of the child and the chosen situation. Number five, create copies. Once you have written the social story and added in your picture, you need to make copies. If you plan on using the social story for a large group, try to blow it up so it will be visible for everyone who is viewing it. If you plan on using the book or many children, you will want to create multiple copies, enough for each student to bring one home and consider laminated it too. Number six, introduce and read the story. This is one of the most important steps in creating a social story and one that tends to be forgotten. While the crafting and content of the social story are, of course, important, you also need to set aside ample amount of time to read the story to child. Make sure you choose the opportune time introducing the social story when the child is in an amenable, approachable mood and ready to learn. Read through the story several times and have the child read along if possible. You can also discuss personal experiences and make connection to real world situations to make the story even more relevant. 7. Practice and provide feedback. After reading the story several times, consider role playing to help further your child's understanding of the expectation. Use positive feedback when your child displays the expected behavior after the social story is used, and don't throw the story out when you think you might be finished with them. Hang on them, hang on to them and keep them accessible so you can reread and practice more as necessary. Number 8 is the bonus step. Have the students help when possible. Whenever possible, encourage the child to help you create his own social story. This will allow for more ownership and greater buy-in. You can guide the child with open-ended questions if necessary. What are social story best for? Social story were first adapted for students with autism spectrum disorder. However, this can be useful for any students who might struggle with social skills, behavior disorders, or any other similar problem with communication. They can be used with individual of all ages, particularly if you take the time to modify and adapt them to fit the student's age and cognitive level when they are customized to meet the needs of individual students. They are no longer one size fits all solution, but instead can be personally tailored to meet any needs or desired skill set. Social story can even be used for students who struggle with emotional regulation. They can help decrease anxiety, teach rules, or even demonstrate tough social cues. How to adapt social story for students who are nonverbal? Believe it or not, you can use social story for children who are nonverbal. You will need to make some accommodations and adaptation thought. For starters, make sure the story contains simplified language. Use single words rather than long phrases, or try to encourage nonverbal communication in the story. You might point to pictures in the story rather than focus on long chunk of text. It's even more important when crafting this social story that they attune to child's unique interests. This social story should contain visual support with lots of picture. In some cases, a social story for nonverbal child might contain no text and be composed solely of visual aids. You might even use musically adapted social story to help get a point across. Another helpful tip for creating a social story for non-verbal child is to make sure the story contains pictures of the child himself whenever possible. This will make the story more relevant and is good way to involve the child in the creations of the social story when having them write their own sentence might not be possible. Social story template to try. If you are an educator working with children with unique learning needs, there's a good chance that don't have time to craft a brand new social story for every single situation you need to teach. That's where template come in handy. One thing you can do is to create a reusable MATLAB style social story template that you can use again and again. You can simplify fill in the blanks with sentences and terms you need to include to make an impact on your students. A fill in the blank social story template is helpful because you can read the social narrative and have the student circle the best answer or fill in the text and images with his own answer. This is a great way to allow the students to choose his or her own solutions and feelings based on the narratives. You can also use it to review parts of speech. Ultimately, this kind of social story templates will give more ownership to the students. You can use computer program like Microsoft Word, Publisher, or PowerPoint to create your own social story. But if you want to grab a quick social story template, you can use your kids ASAP. Check your our check our check out our template below by entering your email.